Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope everybody is doing great. Well, y'all know the routine by now. If you have not already liked or subscribed to my channel, please do that. That way you get notifications whenever I upload new videos, new content, and then like it, that enables people to find it and pass it forward and all of that fun stuff. So today, we are talking about boundaries, bitterness, and blessings. All very standalone topics, but I honestly believe that separately they are powerful, but when you bring them together, there's a dynamic there that has everything to do with being a person who lives in their purpose. And kind of without acknowledging what these three are about, then it could maybe essentially cause some problems. So let me dive in and talk about each of them, and then I'll bring them together. So boundaries. If there were a top 10 list of words that are in psychology, I would say that boundaries is probably one of them. I also think that boundaries is misunderstood in a lot of ways. Okay. I think sometimes people think boundaries are like cutting people out of your life and holding on to bitterness, right? When that's what's happening is somebody cuts somebody out, but there's also bitterness attached to it. That's not what boundaries are. Okay. So boundaries tell people what you will not do. Okay. So, I'll use a personal example. I am not an argumentative type of person. I don't like to argue. I like to resolve issues because issues do arrive in the best of relationships, but I'm not an argumentative person. So if a person tries to draw me into their arguments, my boundary is that I'm not going to do that. If that person can't respect the fact that, hey, we have an issue that we need to resolve, but, I need to kind of step away, you need to step away, and then we can come back and talk about this like two rational people, then that's cool. But my boundary says what I will not do. I will not argue back with you, okay? So that's an example of a boundary. A boundary says what you will not do, okay? I am very introverted, believe it or not. Meaning if I extrovert too much, if I've been going and talking and doing all these things, by the end of the day, I am exhausted. I am like mentally, emotionally, I need just to kind of, be in my own space, or maybe just be with one other person and just like kind of chill and relax. A boundary is, hey, somebody calls me and they're like, oh, we got this party to go to, or we want you to come. And my boundary is that, thank you for the invite, but I'm not going to come, regardless if they try to guilt trip me or whatever, right? Because my boundary says what I won't do. I've been doing this all day. I essentially don't want to do that, right? And so I think so many times, especially when you've been a person like me that's been a people pleaser, it's so easy to get sucked into doing things that you don't necessarily want to do. So it can be tough to implement boundaries. But once you do, let me tell you, once you start implementing boundaries, it's just, there's a huge freedom that comes with that. So that's boundaries. Bitterness. See if I can sum this up in like 1 minute. I think we all know somebody who's bitter, right? I'm gonna assume it's not you, right? Because my assumption is that there's a part of you that wants to hear what I'm saying, and this channel is about positivity and being fit in your purpose. So I would hope if you're in that space to even receive that you're not a bitter type person, right? But jokes aside, unfortunately, there are a lot of bitter people walking around, right? And bitterness often comes from trauma, it comes from hurt, it comes from pain, and it's undealt with, right? When you don't deal with these issues that are inevitable to every single one of us, you've heard it said probably that bitterness, it takes root, right? And then once it takes root, then it starts to grow, and then it becomes that person is negative about so many things, and as a result, nobody really wants to be around them, right? So that's bitterness, right? Then there's blessings. Every single day that we're all walking around and breathing and having somebody in our life that loves and cares about us and likes us, and, being able to just live life. It may not be the life exactly that we want in the moment, but the fact that we're up and living and breathing, that is a blessing in itself. And that's something I pray that none of us take for granted, because we all know that tomorrow is not promised. The next minute is not promised at the end of the day, right? So how do all of these B's go together? Okay. Boundaries, bitterness, and blessings. Well, here's kind of my sociological, spiritual, purposeful analysis of how all three go together. In order to be a person that lives in your purpose, and your purpose at the end of the day is something that you are just meant to do, and that plays out in millions of ways for so many different people, right? My purpose, teaching, mentoring, speaking, writing, encouraging, inspiring, all of those things, right? But in order for me to do those things to the very best of my ability, guess what I have to implement? I have to implement boundaries. Boundaries are easier said than done, but they are an absolute must. If you are a person that struggles with boundaries, I have been a person that struggles with boundaries, and every now and again, sometimes it still happens. But at the end of the day, I have found there is a connection, and the fact that I'm doing the things that I want to do and need to do in order to live a life that's purposeful, I have to implement boundaries, right? And that's usually means you're implementing boundaries with people, right? The people that I choose to surround myself with and allow in my space respect my boundaries. That has been something that I've noticed. They support what I do. They encourage me. There's just no issues when it comes to that. The people who don't respect my boundaries, sometimes you got to kind of say, maybe not necessarily cut them out, but maybe just kind of move them aside in the meantime. Boundaries are absolutely critical and essential for you to live in your purpose. If you haven't been a person that has implemented boundaries, I encourage you to do so, because guess what's going to happen? We're on to our next beat. If you don't find a way to implement those boundaries, there's going to be a part of you that's going to start getting bitter, because what's going to happen is there's going to be some kind of resentment. You're going to resent the people that, maybe are essentially pulling you away from your purpose, that aren't supporting you, maybe they're saying things like, yeah, but why don't you're doing that, but why are you doing that? That's a good idea, but have you ever tried to do this? And those are all maybe wonderful ideas, but is it what you're meant to do, right? And people mean well. People 100% mean well. But if you don't implement boundaries, essentially you might find yourself in that space of bitterness. And then how do we tie in the last beat of blessings? When you implement boundaries, it keeps you away from being a person that's full of bitterness and the residual effects. So it's almost like boundaries minus bitterness equals blessings. And the blessing is that you're going to be a person that has stepped into your purpose, whatever that looks like. And you're in a space where you have success. I'm trying to find the right word to say other than blessings, but really that's what it is. Essentially is just living in your purpose. There's a huge blessing that comes with that. And here's the other amazing thing. When you feel like you're in a position that you're blessed, you're going to want to share that with other people. I absolutely love my job. I do. I love it so much. I love my students. I love what I'm able to do. We have fun in my class. We laugh. Students have on my channel and they've had me for in-person class. They know that probably at least once a week, if not more, honestly. We laugh so much. I love, love, love that. I had one student tell me every day I go into class, I'm very intentional 2-3 videos ago about making sure that I'm positive, no matter what type of day I've had, because my students, they don't deserve that, right? They don't deserve if I'm having an off day or whatever. So I do my best to be intentional, but it's easy to do when I love my job. And I love my job because it's part of my purpose. It's like this awesome flow of just everything that goes together. So end of the day, sit with that for a while. Think about it. Think about, are you implementing boundaries, right? Some people might need to be, maybe not X out of your life, but maybe just pushed aside for just a little while, because what we don't want to happen is for the bitterness to take root, right? We want to be able to get past that and receive the blessings that come with living in your purpose. So hope that helps somebody. If not, maybe in the next video, we'll do that for you. So have a wonderful week or weekend, and I'll see you all in the next video.